I had managed, with great difficulty, to wrap my head around the idea of the first diagnosis, severe depression. I spent 2 months cradling my sad girl and watching her anguish without being able to lift it from her chest. I had been to her school, talked to her teachers, asked for temporary leave, fought for her not to lose that year of study. I took her to therapy and waited outside for her, and until I saw her safe and sound inside the house, slumped next to her grandmother in front of the television, I didn't go out again. I spent nights on end wondering about this illness and its traits. I spoke to as many people as I could. I read all the information I could get my hands on. I asked myself 20,000 questions about the girl's upbringing, about the quality of my role as a mother, about her genes. I managed to get help. Maria del Mar, that client I told you about, has a psychologist brother, and he began to see Susie. He's a saint. He didn't even charge us. The days when she had therapy, twice a week, were the only times she went out. In the same consultation, she attended the psychiatrist who medicated her. Because it was in Providencia, close to the hairdressers, I took her with me, settled her on the bed next to where I do my waxing, drew the curtain for the privacy of my clients, made her lemon verbena tea, and set her up with a magazine. The girls kept her company if they didn't have much work. Katy tried to make her laugh. Jennifer stroked her hair, and even Adolfo consoled her. Susie was attentive to everything, but calm and passive. Katy said to me, "You know what, Juani? Susie is submissive like she's been bitten by a vampire. Sometimes I felt like shouting to annoy her, to make her disobey me, to prove she was alive, but I got nothing." She followed me like a lamb, surrendering her life to me because she'd had enough, and the first time she did get annoyed, they admitted her and changed her diagnosis. Bipolar disorder. Son of a bitch. I understand that there are 4 different grades. They don't really know, or still can't agree, which applies to Susie. When they admitted her, I struggled to understand the doctor's fear that Susie might commit suicide. It was like they were talking about another person in another language. Taking her own life? My Susie? But why? Why? Every time a siren wails or an ambulance passes, I think about the tragedy that exists around that noise, which you take as a given. You almost don't hear it. But someone is suffering intensely. That's what the sound announces, and no one pays attention. It could be Susie, or my mother. I'll never know who each pain belongs to. It'll never appear in the newspaper or on TV, but someone's life is marked. When Manet talked about bipolar disorder, my blood froze as if she knew my story. Yes, it's true that it has become fashionable. Perhaps people weren't diagnosed with that label before. But the real issue that Manet exposed is financial. Susie's first therapy sessions were free, with Maria del Mar's brother. Then, once we had a diagnosis, she continued with a specialist who now sees her about once a month and medicates her, and I pay him with National Health Fund vouchers. But the medicines are impossible, because there are all kinds of medicines. There are some that are more primitive and therefore cheaper, but they have all kinds of side effects. The best, the most modern, they're expensive, very expensive. I didn't have a hope in hell of getting the money. It occurred to me to ask for a bank loan. They flatly refused with the proof of income I showed them. And the thing is that Adolfo, to help me, had padded the numbers. I was tipped off that if I mortgaged the house in Maipú, they'd give me the loan. But it's in my mother's name. Can you imagine the procedures I had to go through?